recruiting is the lifeblood of a program.
Yes.
Now, of course, the second half of that is developing and scheming and all that kind of stuff. But for the fans who look at college football at face value, they look at it like you land the recruits, you get the best, you stack the best, you win championships. It's just that simple, in their opinion. So for you, in the early phases of Miami trying to build a new program, from what you've heard from Paul, saw that show, from what you heard from Kim Underwood and me, are you hearing some of the signs of what you know can build the program, or are there other things that you want to see Miami start to land or get done and handled for you to get more of a grasp of what we're doing here? And it's a small sample size, but I just wanted to ask you that.
So for me,
Mm-hmm.
there are two reasons why I have more confidence in this Miami situation right now than I would have otherwise. And I've talked about Mark Richt in the past. And again, I think that's a little bit of a different situation. He had proven that he was a top 5 to 10 coach in the country. I think it just wasn't a good circumstance. I think he made a bad decision with his connection with his son, and his loyalties were kind of messed up. I respect the loyalties, but I just think they were a bit misguided. You can go get your son a job. If you're Mark Richt, you can go get your job, your kid a son almost anywhere in the country. But, he shouldn't be learning on the job. That said,
Right.
I kind of put him in a different category because I make this statement from time to time that post Butch Davis, again, put Richt on the side. We kind of learned a little bit more about him, that he was in a different place in his life, unfortunately. Post Butch Davis, there's not been a coach that Miami's hired, a head coach who had success prior to Miami. And
Mm-hmm.
then it proved out post Miami, they didn't go anywhere and succeed. Nobody as a head coach. Mario Cristobal, say what you will, as many people do when we bring up his success. If you look at the time period from 2018 and especially 2019, his second season through 21, there's only about 7 to 10 coaches and programs that did more during that time period than Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
He had them in the top 10. He won a Rose Bowl, 3 championship games, 2 wins. Hardly anybody in the country. Again, only about 7 or 8 programs accomplished what they did. So proven track record. So then he lands in Miami. And this is something we talked about before he got the job. And I totally agreed with you in that Lane Kiffin would have been a great hire, et cetera, for a short term. But we are pretty confident this guy, he loves the school. He loves the
Yep.
area. It's his roots. Like, there's just going to be more investment, passion, long-term planning, building, not just, I'm going to grab that 5-star and this 5-star 4-star, and we're going to put together a really good team and a couple 10-2s, and I might think about the NFL. It's a build. It's a program build, a true something that's the word that you use a lot, sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the beginnings of that. Okay. For him to go out immediately and flip, and to put that together with his track record. So this isn't something new. This isn't something like, oh, well, wow, this is surprising. It's impressive, but it shouldn't be surprising. He was Alabama's top recruiter. He was bringing in the top recruited class in the Pac-12 3 consecutive years. So all this is production at a much higher rate than, again, save for Rick showing up, getting 9 wins, winning a bowl game, winning 10 straight, getting a number 8 class. But again, he showed after that, just wasn't a good time of life for him. This hasn't been done at Miami since Butch Davis. And
Right.
I'm looking past Larry Coker because he inherited the team.
Hmm.
Sure, he cared for it. He was the caretaker, but we know what the deal was there.
Hmm.
So all of that is something I haven't seen for all that time.
Okay. Okay. I mean, like I said, I like to ask your opinion from time to time because you've been covering, college football probably as long as I've been alive. But as far as on YouTube for a better part of the last decade, you said you started in what, '08 maybe,
Yeah.
809?
I founded the channel in 2010. Really
Okay.
got serious about 13.
Okay. So
Yeah.
almost 10 years of serious,
Yeah.
but about 12 years of at least sustainable uh, content, consistent content. Covering the sport. And
Yeah.
when you study something that long, you start to see little things. Like we talked about in a personal conversation on the phone where you were like, when news broke that Urban Meyer came to Ohio State, you're like, oh, we won a championship. We're going to win a championship. That's what he does. Um, Now you look at Miami signing Mario Cristobal. To me, I said within 3 years, we're going to win the ACC. Not win the Coastal. We're going to win the ACC because that's what he does. He wins his conference champions. He did it at FIU. Okay, he's done it at Oregon. He's had his humble already at FIU. Tried to build that program, and everybody brings up his record, doesn't realize he was the second coach in school history at FIU. Like he had to build Florida International. You talk about UCF, USF, where at one point they had a pocket of like dominant performances. FIU never had that. This is not that kind of program. Okay, they beat us under, that other guy, but that's neither here nor there. We don't want to talk about that day. Very sad day. But I wanted to ask because there's a lot that goes into this, and if you study it long enough, you start to see little intricacies, little things that stand out to you. Like, I like that. I've seen that before. I know what that results in, and especially when you talk about building something from the inside out. You talk about a guy who's going to do that. We're going to land 5-star guards and tackles. We're going to land high 4-star centers. This is what we're going to do because that's who he is. And he does it on both sides of the ball. It may be year 2024, we land the number one edge rusher in the country. Why? Because he's proven to be able to have done that. And the person who helped him recruit that person is now on staff at Miami, Joe Salaveo. They were the primary and secondary recruiter for Kayvon Thibodeau. Then Kayvon Thibodeau gets on. He said a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of crazy stuff. But he gets on camera and he talks about how the work, the effort, and the kind of person Coach Cristobal was. And he talked about how when he walked out, the first thing his mom said was, I believe everything he just said. Every little bit of what he just said, I believe. I believe he's going to be successful. I believe he wants you to be successful. And the decision is yours, but I want you to go to Oregon. First time he even told the story. And the first time Coach Cristobal even heard it, but it was real, it was true, and it was genuine. It was from the heart. And these are the kind of things that's been listed as what Coach Cristobal will be. So all we can hope is that it continues to get better for us here in Miami, and that maybe next time we speak, it'll be a little closer to the signing period. After that, it'll be the Thursday night after, in 2 weeks from tonight, will be the time that we get to speak about it. And I can say, did Miami land Shamar Stewart? Did Miami land some of these big time prospects that we're in the conversation? The offensive guard from Washington. Are there some surprises? Because, like we said before, Cyrus Moss wasn't coming to Miami. Coach Cristobal had to convince him about coming to Miami because he wasn't even offered by the previous staff. He knew nothing about the University of Miami. Coach Cristobal got him. Coach Cristobal flipped him. Now he's an early enrollee, came already practicing with the team. So, Jalen Skinner, tight end prospect, top 3 in his position, was going to Alabama. Flipped him. Now he's a Cane. He's also going to be on campus here in a couple of weeks. So we're doing well. We're making strides. And I'm excited about where we're going to move as a program. I can't wait to see it.
The combination of you bringing up National Signing Day and outlining that for us, and then also asking me the question, considering what we've been doing here for the last 10 years, actually gave me a perspective that I hadn't thought of before. And I feel very blessed in this way that, yeah, I've been sitting back for 10 years covering all of college football as much as I possibly can and not had much contact with being at the stadium, coaches, anything like that, just watching, talking to people like yourself, people that have different angles on it, whether they're former players, coaches, beat writers, whatever they are, and doing all that from a treetop kind of perspective. But I've been very fortunate to be able to marry that with 7 years covering the SEC. And when I was at a sports director at a Mississippi station, we covered Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Alabama. So that was a completely different side of it because I was totally ingrained in it. I was going to practices 3 or 4 times a week. When you bring up National Signing Day, it brings up 2 very distinct memories of we had good enough relationships with Tommy Tuberville at Ole Miss and Jackie Sherrill at Mississippi State that Tommy Tuberville invited us right into his office during National Signing Day. And we're right there with our camera watching the faxes come in. What's that?
In the war room when
Tommy Tuberville, Ole Miss. Yeah, we were in there and did a live hit with him during the 6 o'clock news. Same thing with Jackie Sherrill, although we were out at a sports bar with him and those guys. And so I've kind of seen both of like kind of sitting back like I do now and trying to watch everything versus you get like, if you are able to build the relationships and some credibility, you get ingrained in those programs and get to see them kind of, I'm not going to say, Jackie Sherrill actually asked me one time during the first few days of August camp because they had some player issues off the field. And then they had said some not so good things in the newspaper and to the media, some players. And he actually asked me to come in and talk to the team about how to speak to the media and how to be interviewed and how to respond.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this is at Mississippi State, right? Because Tuberville is at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
So Mississippi State. Yeah. Did you step away when Coach Mullen was there? Were you were already doing your thing now and Coach Mullen?
Yeah, I was gone. Yeah, I was gone by then.
Yeah, I asked that because at the place I work, the director and head of film was there at Mississippi State under both coaches. John Riley, he was there. So I don't know if that name means anything to you, but he actually gave me a really crazy, funny story about Manny Diaz when he was a young defensive coordinator there that made him know that Coach Diaz is a little moody. So, there's that. I'll share the story off air. I don't want to do that to him, especially now that I dropped his name. So sure. I don't want to do that on live.